the threat of human beings always feel, oh, we're about to be replaced by robots. It's like a science fiction trope. It hasn't happened yet. His point is different. He's talking about a digital labor platform. Marc Benioff invented that phrase that we use. And it's a hybrid human agent workforce. It's a human doing their job, but with the help of intelligence. Intelligence is a tool to help us do our jobs better, which is what technology should be if we think about it. All technology.
Today, I'm speaking with Martin Kihn, SVP of Product Strategy for Marketing Cloud. He's also a renowned author. This is book number 6. We're going to be talking about that today, Agentforce. He's a former Gartner analyst and also an ad man. Welcome to Sydney, Marty. First time in Australia?
Oh, first time ever, yeah.
Wow. We're going to have an amazing conversation, which starts off with your amazing book. Book number 6, Marty, Agentforce, right? I've got a copy here. Been giving it to all our customers. Incredible.
Well, I wrote another book called Customer 360 that came out just late last year. So I'm quite prolific, and that was about Data Cloud, and it was about the Data Cloud platform, so CDP, Customer Data Platform. That was my first Salesforce book, Customer Data Platforms. So I wrote the book, co-wrote the book on Customer Data Platforms.
This one's by yourself, though?
Yes, this is just by me with my friend Marc Benioff writing the foreword.
We know that guy.
But I wrote Customer 360, but it didn't mention Agentforce. Because when I wrote it, it didn't exist.
Yeah.
In fact, if we remember, Agentforce was only really introduced at Dreamforce last year.
Well, generative AI, agentic AI, it's pretty hot off the press.
It's new, yeah. And so we were committed to Agentforce. And I was asked, actually, by the publisher, we need a book about Agentforce.
Yeah.
It's a really hot topic.
Wow.
And it would complement Customer 360. So my worry about it is that it would be out of date.
Well, we move fast at
Keep
Salesforce.
it timely, I know. And release 3, release 4, it happens so fast. But they committed to publishing it really fast. So for a book, like I finished it in, I don't know, March, April. It came out in June, which is very, very fast.
So you mentioned CDPs. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the CDP is fascinating. There's a guy named David Robb, who's now the head of the Customer Data Platform Institute.
Okay.
And he wrote a blog post where he used those 3 words together, Customer Data Platform, for the first time. And he's like, there's this new category that with these strange vendors no one's ever heard of, and what is it? And well, it's a database that sits on top of other databases, and it basically pulls customer data in and makes it available. So it's a way of organizing customer data that is disconnected. And that happened, marketers had that issue because they had mobile, email, web, you had loyalty programs, and it just sat everywhere, and it was kind of a mess. So they're like, I would like access to this data, So that's what the CDP arose to. That was the problem. And it's expanded. I mean, it's gone beyond marketing into first customer service and sales and commerce and loyalty. It's similar to CRM. It's not the same, but it's about customers. So.
Yeah, and what I love about it, as a marketer is, and you're right, we used to have a few sources and then we needed to collect data from many more sources. Yeah. But the challenge became, which is our history with CDP going to Data Cloud, is that we also needed sources from other departments. So it was no longer just marketing's problem. And then we wanted everyone to access it. So obviously that's Data Cloud now. And actually very relevant as we sort of get into AI, because Data Cloud, very, very present for AI. Now, Marty, you've been at Salesforce 6, almost 7 years now, and you've seen obviously many customers linking back to this new technology. How are you seeing it shape the way marketing teams work, right? The skills needed, and how should the mindsets be changing?
There's a lot of implications. I think we're just beginning to see them now. It didn't revolutionize marketing overnight. I think in the beginning with the large language model, ChatGPT came out and it was good at generative content. So the initial thought was that it would be good at writing copy and then imagery as well.
Yes.
So machine generated imagery, creative. It turns out that is true. But that's not really the place where this is going to be the most value from AI in the marketing function. It really is around making processes more efficient. And anyone who's worked at an ad agency, as I did, or in a marketing function, there's a lot of manual work that goes on. My old function, I was a measurement person, and I used to do a lot of cutting and pasting in Excel and just dealing with numbers. A lot of that could be automated. I mean, there's no reason that if you had an intelligent agent looking at it, they couldn't automate a lot of that process.
Yes.
And I think that those are the places where we're seeing efficiencies. I think with Marketing Cloud Next, we have an agent called Campaign Creation. You describe a product, you describe an audience, and you describe a general feel for a campaign, and the agent will write a brief for you. And you can approve the brief, and then another agent will pull an audience. It will actually identify what the segment should be and write the SQL code behind the scenes. So you've automated, those two processes, and then there could be an agent to build a media plan and an agent to do optimization. So I think there's different pieces of the marketing value chain.
So if you think about that, like when I think about my own team, we focus on marketing here, but this is very similar in other departments too, where you might have needed 2 or 3 people with different skill sets to do something like pull a campaign brief together, which now could be a person with the assistance of an agent.
Yeah, that's right.
So how do you think then about if a CMO is thinking about this, right? Is it that I need to up-level or upskill my one person to be a bit more of a generalist to work with an agent?
Yeah.
Or is it that that person that was the deep specialist needs to be even better at what they do with an agent? Like, how do you think about that?
There's a danger in AI. There's good and there's bad. There's a human tendency to say, all right, I'll just have the machine do the work. There's a lot of people who don't like writing, so they just have the machine do all the writing for it. I think it's very important now that we stay on top of the technology and understand it, demystify it, and also don't lose skills that we need to maintain.
Right.
So that, like with GPS, we saw that people kind of lost their spatial reasoning skills because we just type in the address, we don't know where we are.
My wife will tell you that I've lost
it's
those
really
for
real.
sure.
I know. And
without the GPS,
is that
I
a big
can't
deal?
Even,
Maybe not. I don't know. But we really should maintain the ability to write, because that helps us to think clearly, and so we can communicate more clearly. And then
and the next generation as well, right? Because if
course.
there's no senior people that know how to do that, there's no chance that folks coming up will either.
But that will take focus. But to answer your question, I think that people with deep skills are going to get deeper. They're going to get more knowledgeable about how AI works. And there's going to be a need for generalists, but agents are going to augment workflows. So it's going to be a person with like superpowers, but it's not that new, because technology has always been used in that way. It used to be like dealing with computers. It was extremely technical, and then it became less technical. And then Python, you could be kind of a generalist and know a little bit of Python, and then same with SQL. And then now you have drag and drop interfaces. So tools have been getting easier to use over time. So we can do more. A single person could do more than we used to be able to do. And that'll just get more and more true.
Yeah, it's interesting on that. Obviously, for a lot of people, when they build a campaign, you mentioned segments and so forth, they do need those technical skills today. But as we're moving into this new world, someone that actually understands the business context of what you're trying to pull may be in a better position to pull that segment than the person that only knew how to pull the segment.
Because marketing, and I've been in marketing technology, and you're a marketer yourself, and it really is about communicating with people. It's a very human thing. It's like I'm trying to tell a story to another person. That's what marketing is. But there's been a lot of noise in between, like what's the channel, what's the segment, and that obscures that basic connection.
Yes.
But if you can kind of have machines take care of some of the noise in there, then I can step back and say, all right, how do I actually communicate with these customers? Doing that kind of the human part, because machines will never be as good at being human as humans are.
So talking about all of this, though, we've been talking a lot about digital labor and, augmented workforces where humans are working with AI together.
Yeah.
Many folks are still getting their heads around this concept. Can you, share how you're thinking about this?
Yeah, and we're seeing it already in the world. People are adopting Agentforce, and it's interesting to see the early adopters and where they're finding success and what they're having agents do. Customer service is an area where every company wishes they had more bodies. Nobody has enough, and they're expensive. You hire people, and you have to train them. But if you could just kind of have virtual bodies that you're adding to your workforce, so it's not, you haven't replaced anyone. Like Remarkable, use a Remarkable tablet right there.
Yeah.
They use us for customer service, and apparently
surge and capacity.
That's right.
As well.
Yeah, and Wiley as well, the publisher of this book, uses us for customer service.
Yeah, they've got like big surges when school starts.
And that's customer facing. It's very useful. And the other area is employee facing agents. Employee facing agents are attached, like co-pilots attached to software. And an example there would be wealth management. We've seen this for a number of our clients. That someone is sitting on like a broker, sitting on the phone with a high net worth individual, talking about the portfolio back and forth, and the agent can be there listening in the conversation and giving advice. Recommend this product. This person is risk averse. Don't talk about this, and this piece of information might be very interesting to them. So it's making that human-human interaction better.
Yes.
Because the machine is bringing more intelligence to the individual.
And I always find it interesting when I share this is that we've also, with the systems we've created, made it easier to capture a lot of information, but that's so hard for a human to remember when they switch between conversations.
Oh, yeah.
And so being able to assist them with something that computers and AI are really good at, which is lots of data and being able to search it and surface those insights in real time. But to your point, keeping the human in the loop of the conversation. A lot of people don't think about that. Like, it's like, oh, they hop back to the old day, but the old day, you didn't have that much information. Now,
Yeah,
like,
it's limited.
Correct.
And that's why unstructured data, so in Data Cloud now we have a vector database, and it makes unstructured data available within the context of Data Cloud, which is new. It used to be data had to be pretty structured, labeled, but unstructured data would be like text. It could be policies. It could be call transcripts.
That one in particular, did the customer have a positive sentiment or negative sentiment when they last talked to you?
Yeah. And if you comport like a salesperson, you can go through notes. And all of that's unstructured data. It can be used in Data Cloud, and it could be, and agents love unstructured data. It's very helpful for
some
them.
Context, especially in the moment.
Yeah.
You had Marc write your forward, and he's obviously talking about the last generation of humans that will only lead other humans, right? What does that mean to you? When people hear that, it kind of blows their mind.
Yeah.
How do you think about that, and how do you describe that to our customers?
I mean, it can be scary because the threat of human beings always feel, oh, we're about to be replaced by robots. You know, it's like a science fiction trope. It hasn't happened yet. You know, and I don't think it's going to happen. But his point is different. He's talking about a hybrid, like a digital labor platform. Marc Benioff, I think, invented that phrase that we use, digital labor platform. And it's a hybrid human agent workforce. But it really is what I was describing earlier. It's a human doing their job, but with the help of intelligence.
Yes. Augmented.
So it's like intelligence is a tool to help us do our jobs better, which is what technology should be if we think about it. All technology.
And I guess also the concept of that you will have agents that are part of your team that will help do certain the processes or tasks, and how do you think about that, right? So it's a whole new world, right? And the skills that are needed for that as well.
Well, and hopefully, you know, and I think this is true today, like we have Agentforce 3 was released as the command center. And the command center can list human employees and agentic avatars in a queue, like a call center queue, and then show the net promoter score and everything. But the agentic avatars would be assigned to the kind of lower risk, lower value cases because you're automating it. And the ones that are kind of high value customers or complicated, you would give to a person. So they're getting different kinds of questions.
So talking about data, in the book you talk about the roles, the rules, the guardrails for this new technology. Can you share a little bit, give sort of the highlights of the folks here?
In the beginning, you know, GPT-3 came out, ChatGPT, and people get very excited. Like, oh, I can do recipes and workout routines, and I can talk to it. And, you know, the question then was, how can this be taken, this powerful, you know, new tool, and used in an enterprise context? Very different. Because if I'm having it generate content and I'm putting it in front of my customers, my entire brand could like blow up overnight. And, you know, it's like a big deal. So the very first thing we were working on, the Salesforce engineers, was the trust layer, Einstein trust layer. And it has different components, but one of them is toxicity detection.
So help us unpack, like toxicity bias. Can you unpack that a little bit for the audience here?
Yeah, I mean, when we think about an enterprise like Data Cloud, for instance, it's a data store, it's a CDP. And you want to make it, or Agentforce, which sits on top of Data Cloud, you want to make it be able to make use of these third-party large language models, Anthropic, Claude, Gemini, OpenAI. But these are outside your enterprise. These are models that sit somewhere else in the cloud. So in a way, you need to negotiate that back and forth. And that's pretty new. I mean, most of our customers are not in the habit of sending off data to somebody else. And
it took a big deal in '99 when we asked everyone to move to the cloud. Now
I know,
like throw everything.
There's a lot of cloud thing going on there, and it's a back and forth. So the question is then, well, okay, can I trust that the data that I'm sending out is safe? Is it am I protecting personally identifiable information? Am I violating any kind of... So all those guardrails need to be in place. Everything needs to be auditable. So every single transaction needs to be recorded, and it's in an auditable log. And the other thing is, what are you getting back from the model? Like, what is the content? It can have hallucinations. It could have toxicity, we say, like hate speech or whatever, and bias. It could have like unconscious bias or whatever. There need to be guardrails around that as well. So we have built-in protections, like it will detect toxicity, protect bias, protect first-party data, and be able to enable the grounding in your own first-party data, retrieval augmented generation. So trust layer is actually the very first thing.
It's interesting, and it's why Marc, you know, he always says don't DIY your AI, because there's a lot of work to, you know, you obviously see what you can do in your personal life and how great that is, but when you bring it to the enterprise, there are a lot of things you need to get right, and especially from a marketing point of view, the exposure could be potentially harmful. So, and that's never what you would do in marketing, right? You'd never
No.
put something out on a billboard that you'd never reviewed and just assume the machine would do it. So it is an interesting space to kind of build that trust internally, which is also why I think a lot of our customers have gone to internal use cases potentially before they go external.
It's
Are you
lower
seeing
risk.
that as
Yeah, it's
well?
lower risk because I mean there are customer-facing agents like customer service agent, and then there are employee-facing agents. Then they're different. And employee-facing agents are helping employees do their job better, and in a way that's lower risk because employees are going to be more forgiving.
Yeah.
But also, you can roll it out more quickly. It's easier to get internal approvals, and it's easier to see the benefit. You can measure the benefit. When you do customer-facing agent, a lot of care, it's very carefully rolled out. It's like a pilot in the beginning. It'll be like a test use case, and so now you can ask just about any question about products from Agentforce on the website, Salesforce.com, and that is Agentforce at work. And it'll provide, answers.
And soon, I guess, with the new advancements, it will also write the web page for you, right? Like that's where we're going
Yes,
with this. We
that's
announced
true.
that at Connections, which is
Yes.
pretty exciting. I'm very excited about that for our
The
own website.
curation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and personalization.
Like
Incredible.
That, which actually sort of tips the thinking of that it's just a textual conversation. It now actually is the whole experience that you could be having
yeah.
with the agent.
Yeah, because these models, they don't know. They don't care. Text is just a symbol. It's just tokens. And it could be imagery. It could be elements of an image. It could be video.
Or a website, which
They
has
don't care.
text
And they don't care.
images.
That's why they don't care what language it's in. Because they're
Yes.
dealing at a higher level in concepts and,
It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
On that point, I guess as you were doing the research for the book,
Yeah.
was there any conversation or any thinking that you did that was really changed what you thought about what you were going to do going into it, I guess?
Well, the biggest learning I got from this was surprised me, and I'll be honest here. When I got into this, I thought, well, I worried about the future of like human workers because I'm like, these models very good, and they seem like they're smart, and what's going to happen to people? So my assumption was there would be a big impact on the human workforce. Then I went into the research. I'm like, well, what do I know? So I looked at World Economic Forum, International Monetary Fund, McKinsey had a report, Deloitte had a report, Goldman Sachs. Every single one of them, and all these academic researchers, every single one unanimously said, every time a new technology appears, everyone thinks jobs will disappear. And it never happens. What ends up happening is there are more jobs, but we can't predict what they'll be.
What is the roles?
Yeah,
Yes.
they're new jobs, unpredictable, like quite literally unpredictable, like prompt engineer and things that we never would have thought of.
Conversationalists now, I think.
Yeah,
Conversational UI
every
design.
year there's
Yeah.
a new. So that's what I ended up believing. I mean, I have no reason to doubt that.
Well, it's true. I guess if you look back to our teams now, like 20 years ago, SEO optimization experts or deep
Yeah, that didn't
data
exist.
analysts in marketing, like
Yeah.
none of that existed.
Well,
right?
I'm old enough. I grew up in the pre-internet era. There was no internet. So my entire career, which has been around digital marketing, digital advertising, and now
None of that
CDPs,
existed.
It didn't exist.
It wasn't in Mad Men back then.
No.
The question I always get, especially from parents, is what do you tell your kids to do?
Yeah.
And it is interesting, probably for the last 20 or so years, we were telling everyone to learn skills like programming, which, by the way, I did. But that's a very solitary task that you can do by yourself in the corner of your room, but not necessarily the best human characteristic. And
No.
actually, I kind of like this direction, which is get back to being more human, interacting with other people, getting them to do amazing things. That's a very positive, hopeful thing. So
I think it is.
I like that. Well, Marty, thank you so much to coming to Australia, to
My
interact
pleasure.
with our customers, just to give them ideas, positive ideas for the future. And I always welcome down under.
Thank you.